Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episodes 10 and 11. So yeah, we are here with some more My Hero Academia. It's been a couple weeks due to the holidays and everything, but we're finally back, and we've got 2 episodes to get to today in order to catch up. Last we left off, we were still in the raid on the Shie Hakaisai's base. It looked like Overhaul and his one minion were in the process of trying to get Eri out of there. But Mirio is on the way to try and rescue her, while the others have been held up by various villains, members of the, what are they called? 8 Bullets, I think. We got to see some awesome stuff from Tamaki as well as Fat Gum. And of course, we got to see Kirishima continue to have a good focus in this arc, which I really appreciate. But I feel like we're really hitting what I feel is going to be the climax soon. We're really going to start needing to get to the point, you know? Like, I'm fine with having these episodes that go over all of this other stuff happening. It's a big raid. There's a lot of heroes there, a lot of stuff going on. But we do need to get to the point eventually. We do need to get to the rescue of Eri. And I feel like all this other stuff is just kind of putting that off. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm fine with having this other stuff, but we do have to get on with the story, you know? Otherwise, it just feels like it's being too slowly paced. For me, at least, personally. Now, you'll notice on this screen and then again on the reaction screen, things have changed. You may notice the channel banner and stuff has been updated as well. As I had said, starting with the beginning of the year, we are updating all of that stuff. The thumbnails, you may have noticed, has been updated as well. Yeah, I want to kind of make it a little more simplistic, but also make it still interesting, you know? But yeah, I want to kind of cut down on all of the big, heavy, just details, surrounding it, because I feel like a lot of that was taking away from it almost. I noticed that especially when I was making that, year 2019 recap video where I was using all those different clips from various videos. I noticed in a lot of those throughout the year, a lot of the reaction footage I used, no matter what point of the year it was in, it just always felt a little too crowded. And this is something I was thinking about prior to making that video too, but I really noticed it when making that video. Everything felt a little too crowded. Comparing it to other people's reactions, it's just a lot more simple. A lot of other people just have, you know, their face, and then like in one of the corners or something, they'll have the reaction or something. So I wanted to try to cut down on it a little bit, to try and make it, again, a little more basic, a little more simple. And for at least the time being, because you know I do change things up quite a bit on this channel, but for at least the time being, we are going to try to keep it like that, more simplistic. You may also note that on the channel banner and throughout various things, you may see in the new opening as well, the new intro animation, which, by the way, yes, it has that big-ass watermark. The only way I can get rid of that is if I have $9, because apparently the website, it like requires you to have like, oh, you have to pay $9 to get rid of a watermark per video, or you have to pay some kind of monthly subscription. But if you just want to pay for one video, it's $9. I don't have $9 at the moment, especially on like PayPal or whatnot. So it's like kind of hard to do that. If anyone were willing and able to spot me that $9 though, so I could get rid of that watermark, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, for the time being, it's gonna be on there until I can get until I can get the watermark off of there and get it downloaded a little more properly. Um, but yeah, you may notice in there, you may notice on the channel banner that I have the phrase. It's even on the channel, the main channel pic, the profile pic, you could call it, I guess. You may notice the phrase "fan fucking tastic," and this is well, it came from that profile pic I have, which I got using bit not bit strips. What's it called currently? Wow. Hold on, let me check. Bitmoji, that's it. Bitmoji, which is like this like little character emoji thing you can have. And the thing is, um, one of the things on there was the fan fucking tastic thing, the little circle logo. And I decided to start using that and also, and I felt like adding that to the banner and adding it to the intro of every video and stuff kind of helps. And I mean, even that little circle logo is on the thumbnails now. So having all of that on pretty much all of the branding of the channel and kind of making it, I guess you could say, like a new uh, slogan for the channel in a way. I'm doing it specifically to help with the entire COPPA bullshit, the entire child friendly bullshit that they're pushing. Because basic long and short of it is that um, if your content is seen as being um, like child friendly or like geared towards a child audience in their like view, in their perspective, but you say it isn't, like if you tag your video as 18 plus or not for kids, because when you upload a video it gives you those, it makes you choose those, whether it's for kids or not and whether it's for adult 18 plus or not. If you mark your videos for like 18 plus and not for kids, then what it's going to do is if if the bots, let's be honest, determine that it is geared towards children, then you can get all kinds of shit, including fines, possibly, if they determine that. Which is fucking stupid and terrible, and so many channels have like wailed into how like illogically terrible this decision was and how it actually hurts YouTube creators and the audiences. But because of that, I do have to basically make it very clear this content is not for kids. That I do not gear my content for kids, even though I'm reacting to like a lot of cartoons and stuff that might be seen as child friendly or whatnot. I am not doing. My channel's not for kids. I never claimed for it to be for kids. It's meant for a more mature audience. I use adult language. I make adult jokes on occasion. It's not for kids. And some of the content I react to in general is also just generally not for kids. um, but yeah. It's just it's stupid bullshit I have to deal with. So you'll notice that in the different updates and stuff, and hopefully that will help. So we'll see. We'll see. Um, but yeah, so My Hero Academia, getting back to the point of this video, I'm very excited to get back into more of this. It's been a crazy couple weeks, and I could just really get back into this. Really just desire to have more exciting, fun times here. um, Especially now that I don't have to that I'm not worried too much about playing any more Pokemon because I finished the main story and even the post game story, and now I'm just doing random other stuff like training up some other Pokemon and whatnot. But yeah, yeah. Um, in the main, so I'm ready to get back to these reactions, is what I'm saying. But we're just gonna get on with this because I've been talking long enough and I've been kind of going off track long enough. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. Well, episodes. That being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so these were two very good episodes. There's a bit to talk about, but before anything, I want to touch on something I did mention in the reaction. I just want to go into more with it here. Since I'm not watching and trying to keep attention actively with what's going on, I want to actually like go further in with this now. So I mentioned how it's like there are certain aspects about some of these villains that you can respect, but noting that they're still villains, and I want to touch on that because you can respect an aspect or an ideology or whatever of a person without agreeing with it. You can understand someone without agreeing with their actions, their the way they handle things, etc., etc. Himiko and Twice in this episode stand up for their fallen friend, Big Sis Mag, when Overhaul misgenders her. When Overhaul misgenders her, Twice says, "You mean her," like very seriously, which for a character who generally isn't super serious, like you could tell that mattered to him. And then you see Himiko follow it up. She gets this scary, pissed off look on her face, and very calmly, but you can hear it in her voice as well. The voice actress does a phenomenal job. You can hear the rage in her voice when she says, "Do not make that mistake again." Even though these two are villains, they do horrible things, they're definitely evil and need to be taken down. I do not agree with their full ideologies. I do not agree with the way they're going about things. I do not agree with their actions. But I cannot help but respect that they stand up for their friend in such a meaningful way. Because that's a big deal for trans people to go through. Being misgendered hurts. It hurts extremely emotionally. And for a lot of people, constantly being misgendered, even by people that they normally just don't care about, it can cause them a lot of mental issues that can even like go as far as them attempting or even succeeding at suicide. And I speak from experience, having come out as trans now just over 2 years ago. And constantly in those 2 years, I've been misgendered by family, by so-called friends. And it's like, and just by random people I don't even know. And even though I don't even know them, even though I have no connection to those ones, it still hurts. But then on occasion I'll be out, like even if in just like sweatpants and a t-shirt, but I'll maybe have my breast forms in, and I'll just be out at like a store or gas station or something, and I've had some people say, have a nice day, ma'am, and stuff like that. And it's, again, I don't know them. I don't have any connection to them, yet it just means so much. So it's like, as a trans woman, seeing these two stand up for their fallen friend with that much seriousness, being that intent upon correcting that, it shows that they truly cared for Big Sis Mag. That they truly did care for her. And that is another thing that I can't help but respect about the League of Villains. They do care for each other. Shigaraki genuinely cares for his followers. While in comparison, Overhaul sees them as basically fodder. Shigaraki cares deeply for them. He gets pissed if anything happens to one of them. Which is why he was so pissed at the attack, the death of Big Sis Mag and, what is his name? Compress. Mr. Compress. Him losing his arm as well. It pissed Shigaraki off. It pissed the others off. And we get to see that loyalty, that genuine, not just like this blind loyalty to a group, genuine, caring loyalty that these members of the League of Villains have for each other. That is, it's respectable. Again, I do not agree with their methods. I do not agree with their actions. They are still villains. They need to be taken down. They are evil. But even evil people, even in real life, have stuff that you can find respectable about them. They do. Believe it or not, they're human. And humans, even the worst of the worst, it's not just a black and white situation. Everyone has good and bad within them. Everyone has stuff that is respectable and despicable about them. Even the worst of the worst people have something that you have to respect in regards to them. And even the best people have things that are terrible about them. No one is perfect one way or the other. No one is perfectly good. No one is perfectly bad. And a lot of people like to act like that. Like, oh, this person is absolutely horrible, so that means there's nothing good about them at all, ever. Big example. I can't stand Donald Trump. I think he's an absolutely horrible, evil person. I think he's despicable as all hell. But something I can respect about him, he cares for his family. He deeply loves, genuinely loves his family. I do believe that. He cares for his children. I do believe that. He cares for Melania. And even with all the cheating stuff that he's been involved with, even with all the sexual assault stuff, I do genuinely think he cares for his family. I won't deny that. Now, that doesn't stop him from being terrible in my eyes. That doesn't stop his horrible actions, beliefs, policies, ideologies. And I'm not going to get into all the political stuff here. I'm not, but I still can't stand him. I still despise him, honestly. I still think he's a horrible excuse for a human being and one of the worst presidents we've ever had in this country, by far. But I respect his love and care for his family. I do. And at the same time, there are amazing people out there who I've found things that I really disrespect about. Amazing people who I've really cared for and who have really even cared for me, but I found stuff about them. It's like, that's a little bit much. That's a little rough. But it's like, I understand that people aren't perfect, that people aren't, it's not black and white. It's just it's all gray. so it's so it's like I feel like we have that ability, and we should be willing to admit that there are things about even the worst people that we can respect, and there are things about even the best people that we can not respect. So I just wanted to get that out of the way right away. Have more time to talk about, because again, that moment in this episode really did hit me, did really impress me, and it just continues to honestly, with the writing, I think it makes me even like the villains as villains more, to see them have this kind of camaraderie with each other. It makes them more, it makes me more invested in them as villains. So, yeah. But moving on, so we had another one of the villains agree to help Kirishima and Fat Gum after their fight, because he was still up and barely moving, but still, he had all these broken bones. But he was willing to help them out because he grew to respect their tenacity. So Fat Gum, um, not unwillingly, but kind of cautiously took his help, and they were brought to the back, and yeah, Kirishima and him were helped out. Meanwhile, the rest of our heroes were continuing to battle against Mimic. I cannot remember his real name, but they're continuing to battle against Mimic, who is starting to get a lot more intense with his attacks, especially after Himiko and Twice start insulting him. Um, and we even see this flashback to when Himiko and Twice first got there to be useful in this situation. There's this one member of the Shihakai who can force people to answer questions that he asks, and they have to answer it honestly. Like they don't have a choice. His quirk forces them to answer honestly any question he asks them, and which they use to allow Himiko and Twice to reveal their quirks. So Overhaul basically tells them, we don't have anything to use you for right now, so just kind of hang around, but you're not allowed to leave, which Himiko doesn't like because she's all about freedom, I guess. um, so really, when they're basically messing with Mimic and, you know, basically using the heroes in order to defeat Mimic and fuck with the Shihakai, it's basically as revenge for them being kind of like treated like expendable trash, basically, by Overhaul. Meanwhile, while our heroes there and the police and all are taking down Mimic, which we see they succeed at thanks to Deku, um, we see Mirio finally reach Overhaul. And due to his massive amount of control over his quirk, as well as his just overall extreme talent and skill in just general combat and all, he's able to completely overwhelm them and even get around their quirks and stuff. Overhaul and all the others. Not even just not even just with his quirk alone, because his quirk ends up getting canceled, but he still, even without it, ends up showcasing how just utterly amazing he is in combat. I mean, it gets to the point where Overhaul is actually getting legitimately like enraged and pissed and just completely insane over everything. He's like really raging. During all this, he does reveal, though, that Eri is not his actual daughter. Um, and that was just a story he had told them, which I kind of figured. Like, I kind of figured that felt kind of obvious. Um, but at the same time, that makes me wonder, like, did he, again, as I said in the reaction, did he kidnap her? Take her from her actual parents or whatnot? Or are her parents dead? Did he maybe kill them and then take her? Or did her parents die anyway? She was an orphan, and he kind of took her in as his own, like, kind of adopted daughter slash ward in a way. I mean, obviously, he doesn't care a bit for her. Obviously, he's using her for her quirk. So, prior to taking her in, he would have had to have heard about her quirk somehow and seen it as like, oh, I can use this. So still, I'm just wondering what the details behind that are. During these episodes, also, we see a little bit more into Twice as a character and how he's been really like struggling with the aftermath of Big Sis Mag's death, how he really blames himself, and how he's just really legitimately broken up about it. Like, even despite his multiple personality disorder, Twice is legitimately really upset by all of this. You could see it when he pulled off his mask and everything, was like saying, I'm human too. Or I'm still human, or something like that. It's like he still feels these emotions. He still feels the pain of losing someone who was a good friend to him, who he cared about. And being the one who brought Overhaul to them as well. He feels responsible. And I like that. Again, I like when shows or movies or games or whatever develop these villains to feel human. It doesn't make you agree with them. It doesn't make you agree with their actions or their philosophies or their what they stand for, any of that. You still see them as evil. You still see them as the bad guys who need to be taken down. But you also see them as human. And I think that's important. Because as I said earlier, that's who all these bad guys in real life are. These horrible serial killers, just really just terrible people. They're human, and they feel these emotions. They feel pain. They feel sorrow just as much as anyone else. They're terrible people, but they're still people. And a lot of us just don't seem to acknowledge that enough. So I really applaud the original creator here, Horikoshi, for implementing that into his villains here, for making them feel, again, human, for making them feel like real people who are just bad people, but still people. And that's very much heavily drilled in here with the League of Villains, and especially in this episode with Twice and Himiko. But even outside of those, we see a little bit of other characters in this episode and see their humanity. Not necessarily through the same lens, of course. Like with Mimic, we see his humanity through his emotions, but through the emotion of anger, how he is very short-tempered. And we see that as human, he can be manipulated into losing his cool to a point where he's not able to rationally think and act accordingly. We see, even to a degree, the twisted humanity of Overhaul through stuff like his germophobia and through how he can even get his rage on. You can tell in this episode, in episode 11 here, how dedicated he is to keeping airy. Someone with a lack of humanity would not be able to do that. Someone with a lack of humanity would not be getting this enraged over this kind of situation. And people don't seem to realize that. And that, I think, is a really big takeaway from these episodes. I mean, we kind of talked about it with Ruby, like an episode or two ago, something like that with Ruby, where it was saying where like Salem, like Ironwood had said, like Salem didn't have humanity and kind of envied that a little bit or whatnot. And I was told I was one of the only people who actually corrected that and said, no, Salem has very much humanity. That's actually kind of the point of her character. Her humanity has driven her entire character and actions. So it's like it's the same kind of thing here. These villains who are very much villains, just like with Salem and Ruby, they're still very, very much villains. They're still evil, but they still are human, and we get to see that humanity in these episodes full swing. I mean, hell, even that other guy who was working with Overhaul, we saw how much he believed Overhaul cared for him. We saw the tears coming out of his mask. He genuinely believes in Overhaul to that emotional of a level. Now, in the end, it looks like Overhaul's about to get the upper hand, but then in the post-credit scene, we see Deku break in, and I presume Eri is going to be rescued. Like, I presume Eri will be rescued. That Overhaul will have to retreat in the end, because now with Deku and presumably the others as well getting there, it's not going to go super well for Overhaul. I think that the heroes are definitely going to take this. And I also think that there might be one or two more episodes left in this raid. Now, I mentioned that I thought possible characters could die in this raid, especially with how big it was and everything. I'm not sure if Rocklock is dead or not, because Himiko did stab him and it definitely looked like he was down, but I don't know if he was out. I don't know if he was actually killed by that or not. It wasn't clear. But if he, I could believe that he was, but I don't know for sure. But I could also still see someone else dying too. I don't know. I just feel like this arc is so big and so important and such a just the way it's being handled. It's so like intense. I just feel like a death is coming, and I don't want it to, believe me, but I feel like some big death is coming. And I have theories about that, but I don't want to say because I don't want to be right and I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, either way, this arc is phenomenal. It's really great, and it's definitely showcasing how just far this series can go. And I can't wait to see what happens as this arc comes to a close, because it clearly is going to be soon. I can't wait to see where the series goes next, where this season goes next. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So in the meantime, tell me what you thought of or these episodes, both of them, down in the comments below. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.